Hey, welcome back to Snapbolt Games. My name's Max, and I'm here with a complete Modern Horizons 2 common set review and a top 5 commons from Modern Horizons 2 for Pauper. So I'm really stoked to get into this. I can't wait. I've been away. I haven't played Magic for almost 2 weeks, so I haven't played with the cards yet, but I have good reasons. I was away, I was visiting family, and my girlfriend and I of almost 10 years got engaged. So celebration for that, cause for us to celebrate. I'm just stoked. It's been nice to step away from Magic for just a second, but there's so much exciting stuff going on. These new cards coming out, formats changing, a lot of good stuff to do in Magic right now. So celebration for us. I'm stoked. I wanted to relay that to all of you. But I know that's not what you're here for. You're here for the Modern Horizons 2 set review and top 5 commons. But before I get into even that, let me shout out my channel. It's youtube.com/snapbolt. There's going to be a link in the description below. If you like my stuff, please consider subscribing to my channel, throw a like on this video, and you can always ring the bell to know when my new content comes out. But again, I am stoked. Modern Horizons 2 brought so much to Pauper and to Modern Legacy. These cards are pretty pushed, and I love when these alternative or these like side sets come out and they change Pauper and other formats a lot. I think it's fun, so I like it, and I'm stoked. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to get into the my top 5 commons from Modern Horizons 2 specifically for Pauper. And I was going to I had like all these honorable mentions that I was going to talk about, and then I was like, my honorable mention list is so long that what's the point? Like, I'm just going to go over the entire set. Some cards that are obviously just unplayable, I'm not going to talk about, but I'll go over the top 5 and then I'll just go through every common from the set pretty much, talking about them and where they're applicable, and just seems pretty cool. So let's just get right into this. And my number 5 common from Modern Horizons 2 for Pauper, we're gonna go with Lose Focus. And this card is sweet. So I'm gonna read all the cards from the top 5. It's Lose Focus, one colorless, one blue, instant, and it has Replicate for one blue. And that means when you cast the spell, copy it for each time you paid its replicate cost. You may choose new targets for the copies, and then it's just counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. So on its face, it's kind of like a just a bad mana leak. 3 mana counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. But this card is interesting because it does a couple things. It almost acts like a Pauper Flusterstorm, because if you have, let's say you're in the later game and you're fighting a counter war and you have like 5 blue mana, if you just cast this and then replicate it 3 times, you can counter the spell you want to counter if they can't pay the 2, because you can't stop the replicate. So that means you can like replicate 3 times and then you're going to get 4 copies of lose focus. And if each one of those copies counters their spell, they have to counter all the copies of lose focus, or their spell just gets countered. So even if they have like a counter spell backup, lose focus can be pretty good against that. Also, the other main thing that lose focus can do is stop cascade. So if they go tap 7 mana, they tap out, play Dino, cascade into just something else random like a wolf or something. You just go lose focus, replicate once, and it says you may choose new targets for the copies. So you can go lose focus, counter the Dino, and then with my copy counter the wolf. So you just counter both spells with lose focus. So that's like, I think this card has already seen some play. So I think it's going to continue to see some play, not a lot, but I guess now's a good time to talk about my top 3 commons for this set are like bangers, knock out of the park, easy. They were just locked in basically. And then number 4 and 5 was a little more tough, especially number 5. There was a couple other cards that could have been number 5, but I just wanted to go with lose focus. But again, the top 3 and even 4 are really strong commons, and I think just guaranteed the top spots from the set. And then after that, a lot of the honorable mentions could be interchanged with lose focus because they're strong as well. Um, so it's just hard because again, there's all these honorable mentions that can like kind of all be similar power level, and then I'm making a top 5 list, so I have to choose one. But that doesn't mean some of the other cards that I'm going to talk about when I go through the entire set review aren't close in power level to lose focus. It's just that I chose to put this one on the list because it's already seeing some play, and I think it slightly edges out the other ones, but it's so close that it's kind of negligible. Um, However, what was I going to say? I was going to talk about. I had one more point. I had one more point. Um, but that's okay. That's okay. Let's just move on. Um, so let's go from number five, lose focus. Let's just go straight into number four. I like this card a lot. I'm higher than most on this card. And my number four is Abundant Harvest. If you don't know what this card is, one green sorcery, choose land or non-land. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card of the chosen kind. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, this card is not really seeing play yet, but I think it's drastically underrated and I think it's a really strong card. And let me say why. One green sorcery, choose land or non-land. So basically what this card does for you, you pay a mana and you spend a card, but then you choose land or non-land, and you're going to get that type of card into your hand. So you're spending a mana, but then you get to get your choice of land or non-land. That's basically all it does. But think about this. In the early game, what you're usually going to choose is land when you need more lands. But as the game progresses, and like you're like, okay, I need to draw something good. I have like 6 mana out. I draw Abundant Harvest. Okay, now I just can name non-land. So having like those like really far off, like really diverse times where this card is good. This card is good very early. It's good mid. It's good late because it always gets what you need. So one of the major things why the blue decks are so good in Pauper with Ponder and Preordain is because you can keep a hand that's island, Preordain. It's like you're gonna find the lands you need because you can scry, you manipulate your library, and now green with Abundant Harvest getting the option to do that is just insane. It's so good. Imagine like I think like Ponza decks can start adapting this, and like other just green mid-range decks might want to play it because yeah, think about it. If you're green mid range and then you open your hand and it was like one forest, you're like, well, gotta throw this one back. But when you're against the like when you're playing the blue decks, oh, one land hand, sure, no problem, ponder and a preordain. But now imagine your hand is forest, abundant harvest, and then a couple cheap spells. Now it's like, sure, keep, no problem. I'm guaranteed to hit 3 lands because I can just choose land on these abundant harvests. And then late, as the game goes later, I can guarantee hit a non-land spell and draw another card. Plus, on top of all that, brainstorm is legal in Pauper. So you can just go like let's say you're pretty flooded, you go brainstorm, draw 3, put 2 lands back on top, cast abundant harvest, name non-land, and then you reveal land, and then you'll start keep revealing. So you reveal past the lands you put back with brainstorm. So I think this card is underrated, not seeing that much play right now, but that's also because it's outshined kind of by the top 3 commons from this set that are really just warping the metagame. And I expect to see some bans coming in pretty soon. And that's even without me playing the format at all, again, because I've been away. So Abundant Harvest, number 4. Let's just go right in to number 3. Number 3, I have all the artifact dual lands. So again, a little bit of a cop out here, but these cards make such a difference for Pauper, and it's the full set of them. So we have all the duels. So what these are, if you don't know, artifact land enters the battlefield tapped, and it's indestructible, which is massive, and then it adds 2 colors of mana. So these just take affinity to the next level because the biggest problems with affinity were twofold. One, your mana's not that great, and you need to rely heavily on Pathetic Prism to fix your mana because you need to play all the artifact lands that were legal before, which are just like Seat of the Cyanod, which is basically an island. So you don't get to play dual lands to fix your mana. So your mana was bad because you had to play essentially all basics or your artifact basics. And then you were also weak post board to artifact hate, specifically Gorilla Shaman and Ancient Grudge and stuff like that. So all your lands are artifacts. So if they go like Gorilla Shaman blow up 3 of your lands, it was just so hard to come back from. That was pretty much always game breaking. But the deck was so strong that even with that downside of having kind of sketchy mana and being weak to hate post board because all your lands are artifacts, the deck was still putting up reasonable results. But now these kind of fix both those problems because now your mana gets so much better, specifically the blue red land because the affinity decks are kind of just switching now to being based just blue red, and then you can splash other cards if you want, but you don't really need to. So now you can just play Silver Bluff Bridge. They're all bridges, and then you can just play the Seat of the Synod, Great Furnace, and Darksteel Citadel. So half of your lands are indestructible. So now Gorilla Shaman's not even that good. I mean, you could still have one in the side, but against like so many indestructible lands, you just can't really attack the deck on that axis anymore. And you're getting these dual lands which fix your mana. Yes, you have some tap lands, but that's not that big because a lot of your things are affinity for artifacts anyway. So it doesn't cost you that much. And now you can even play cards like, what's that card that I hate? Witching Well. I used to hate it because you're playing this one costed artifact, but it's blue. So first you have to fix your mana and then you have to cast that. But now you have 8 or more artifact lands, some of which are indestructible that produce blue. So that card gets a lot better now because now you have much more blue producing artifact lands. So these change affinity a lot, and they're just really really strong. I'm excited to play with these because again I haven't even played it. I'm recording this video, which is kind of tough because I'm back now from my trip, and it's like, okay, I want to just jam. Let's get into some leagues. I want to play some Pauper. I want to play some Modern, and it's like, oh, but I also really want to record this top 5 video. I've been waiting for it, and that just cued me in. Okay, this is what I was gonna say before. Pretty funny, but I just I really wanted to get into playing the games, but I had to make this top 5 list first. So it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. Okay, now let's just go right into number 2, Sojourners Companion. I'm just stoked, as you can tell. I think I just gave away the name, but yeah, Sojourners Companion should be pretty obvious. Number 2. This is the other new card for Affinity. This is Sojourner's Companion, 7 mana, artifact creature salamander, 4/4, affinity for artifacts. So that's a mirror enforcer. But then it also has artifact land cycling for 2. Discard this card, search your library for an artifact land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So you can get the duels, you can get the untapped lands. So if you need more lands, if you're like flooded on mirror enforcers, you can use this to get an additional land and deploy your other ones. But this is just mirror enforcer straight up with upside. So now these affinity decks getting to go up to 8 mirror enforcers, it's just insane. It's really really strong. So I think affinity is probably the first deck I'm gonna jam. I know it's just putting up good results, but it's just so strong now with 8 mirror enforcers and the artifact dual lands. The other point I was gonna make was usually when new sets come out, I was like just getting into doing these set reviews and these cool things. And what I like to do is kind of like right when the full spoiler would be out, I would do my top 5 predictions, and then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I would do like an actual top 5 list and where the format's at now. But because I was away, I wasn't able to make a video right when the set came out. So this is kind of like a hybrid of just like top 5 cards, not really like later into the format, not too early. So it's kind of a cop out because I already know what's good. I already know what's seeing play even without playing. But this will be probably the only set review video for Modern Horizons 2, just because I wasn't able to do like my initial take. But my initial take was pretty close to this. I think my number 5 card was different, but other than that, it's pretty close. So Sojourner's Companion, again, really changing these affinity decks, giving you 8 mirror enforcers essentially, and even upgrading them. This is just really changing affinity, and affinity is pretty broken right now. So the only thing that's also kind of like stepping on affinity is the easiest number 1 to guess for anybody ever, basically, is Chatterstorm. New storm card for Pauper. 1 green, 1 colorless sorcery. Create a 1/1 green squirrel. Storm. So if you've played some Pauper, just go look, if you don't know, go look at the Pauper banned list. Every single storm card that does anything basically except for weather the storm is banned. Even what's that card? It's 5 mana. It costs 1 blue, 4 colorless sorcery. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. Storm. That's banned. Grape Shot banned. Empty the Warrens banned. So all just in Pauper, you have these such powerful spells. Ponders, Preordains, you even have Lotus Petals. You have all this like power tied up in the spells and not so much in the creatures. So It's just crazy. Like any storm card just breaks Pauper, and I expect Chatterstorm to get banned just because it's pretty dumb, honestly. Like you can storm off pretty hard on turn one, and you can even just T1 win with this, not too hard, or at least just like make a bunch of squirrels where there's no way for most decks to come back from on turn one. So what people have been doing is you combine Chatterstorm with First Day of Class. First Day of Class is the new Strixhaven card. It's one red, one colorless. You learn, but whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn, it gets +1/+1, a +1/+1 counter and gains haste. So what you do is you just storm off. You go like petal, petal, ritual, ritual, draw a card, First Day of Class, and then play Chatterstorm, and then you like even if you just storm like 3 or 4, then think about it. You're making like 5/2/2 hastes on turn one, attack for 10, and then they're like, okay, tap land go, and you're like attack for 10 again, game. And you can even just potentially get 10 storm on turn one and just kill them on turn one, deal them 20 damage with First Day of Class into Chatterstorm, or play multiple First Day of Chat classes into Chatterstorm. So pretty dumb. Uh, I just don't think they care about Pauper when they're when they're like designing cards. They're just trying to make a good limited environment and thinking what would be fun for modern and stuff like that. But basically they're not really thinking about, oh, what if Chatterstorm breaks Pauper? They don't think about that. So I expect this card to be banned, especially just because it's unfun and it wins so early, and just Storm is just so powerful in Pauper. It's pretty dumb. So that was the top five. We'll just go through it real quick again. Number five, Lose Focus. Number four, Abundant Harvest, underrated. Really, don't sleep on this card. I played a fair amount of Historic, playing some Arena Mobile while I was on vacation. Abundant Harvest, really strong card, really fun. Number three, all the artifact lands. Number two, Sojourners Companion. And number one, obviously, Chatterstorm. So that is the top five commons from Modern Horizons 2. But don't go anywhere. If you want to hear my take on a complete set review from Pauper, I'm going to get into that right now. So let's do that. Let's get into the complete set review. All right. So complete set review time. We have the entire list of the commons pulled up here, and again, I'm not going to go through everything, especially the cards I've already talked about on the top five list. So Abundant Harvest, strong. It's on the top five list. Let's go Arrow Amoeba. 4 mana, 2/4 flying. It's actually decent stats, and you can discard a card to switch its power and toughness. Don't really expect this to see play, but any discard a card outlet can be strong, and 4 mana, 2/4 flying is reasonable, especially if you can just crash in for 4 by using the ability. Definitely worse than Wild Mongrel and stuff like that, but just interesting to be aware of. Arcbound Mouser. This card's kind of cool. 1 mana, 1/1 lifelink essentially with modular. So I could see this seeing play. Maybe you can kind of rebuild Heroic to utilize this, but I could see some weird types of affinity decks coming up where this could be playable. Similarly, the Arcbound Prototype, just a 2 mana 2/2, but modular 2. That's reasonable. And Assembly Worker is nothing to sneeze at. Assembly Worker is actually pretty strong here, because there's that 5 mana 4/4 where you tutor assembly workers. So you can search your library for an assembly worker. So that keeps the chain going one more. So this could see play for that reason, but overall not that strong. Arcbound Slasher, I actually thought this was interesting because this is a 5 mana 4/4, and then it has Riot. So and modular 4 obviously. So either it's a 5 mana 4/4 haste with modular 4, or it's a 5 mana 5/5 modular 4. And that's not terrible. I mean, if every one of your creatures is artifact creatures and you just go 5 mana 4/4 haste attack, they're like, I can't kill that, because then you're just gonna get to put the counter somewhere else. And if you're not under that much pressure, or they have some Sojourners Companions or Mirror Enforcers, you just get to go Slasher 5/5 go, and they're like, wow, now if I Doomblade that, the other like Arcbound Tracker or something that they have out is just gonna get +5/+5. They're like, I can't have that, so they just have to sit there, and then that buys you time to do more good stuff. So Slasher and Tracker, these cards could do something. Not really sure. Like 3 mana 2/2 haste menace is just not quite there, and same with Slasher. I think they're a little bit behind rate for what you're going to want to be playing with, but it's just interesting to think about, especially if we end up seeing some bans. So just keep your eye out on these Arcbound modular cards, because obviously when all your creatures are artifact creatures and you're just moving counters around, maybe sacrificing stuff. It's pretty good. So Arcbound Tracker is an interesting one as well. But I'm not like just running to jam these in decks, but they're cool. This is an interesting one. This is kind of like build your own, like kind of like build your own card advantage thing just in one card. 4 mana, 4/4 trample, Banner Hide, Crushawk. Jesus. Reinforce 2. So you can discard this card to put 2 counter +1/+1 counters on target creature. That's decent. And then you can scavenge for 7, exile this card from your graveyard, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to this card's power on target creature, scavenge as a sorcery. So basically what you do most of the time with this card is you're going to reinforce, give a creature +2/+2, then late game scavenge, give a creature +4/+4, and you just have all the modes basically. So you have a 4 mana 4/4, you have 2 mana sorcery, put 2 counters, and then you're always going to late game get access to the scavenge. Really slow, again, not quite good enough. 4 mana 4/4, just even 4 mana 4/4 trample, just even for Pauper, just not quite strong enough. It just isn't high impact enough. They can just like spread this, and then yeah, you get the scavenge, but it's just not quite enough value. Battle Plan, I don't really like this card that much. I'm also going to read some of the cards, but I won't read every single card. Hopefully, this text is big enough where you'll be able to see it. I have the text pretty massive, but Battle Plan, I just don't think there's a cycle of all these basic land cycling cards. So they all are kind of overcosted for what they do, and then basic land cycling. But I just think Pauper's kind of past that at this point. 2 mana to basic land cycle is just not where you want to be. Then the effect of this enchantment's okay, but just not going to see play really. Blacksmith Skill, this is interesting. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. If it's an artifact creature, it gets +2/+2. So this is a reasonable sideboard card. I mean, you can just do things like protect your land from a stone rain, do weird stuff like that. You can protect like your pestilence maybe. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible. That's kind of unique. And then if you have a bunch of artifact creatures, you can use it as a pump and hexproof effect. So this card could definitely see some play, especially in some type of rework of heroic, maybe with like Mouser and other artifact creatures, and kind of some hybrid like artifact heroic-y type thing. Okay, let's move on. Bone Shards. This card is cool. This card was definitely on my honorable mentions, and here's why. It's 1 mana sorcery at additional cost. Sacrifice a creature or discard a card. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. There's no planeswalkers in Pauper, so it's 1 black, sack a creature, as additional cost, sack a creature, discard a card, destroy target creature. But what's really interesting about this card is every other effect of this has always been 1 mana, like as an additional cost, sack a creature, destroy target creature, and those aren't that good. But because this tacked on discard a card, we'll get later, a little bit later, to Kitchen Imp, which is a really good madness card, and you can use Kitchen Imp plus Bone Shards pretty nicely together. Like you go turn 1 swamp, like duress you or whatever, just play something, then turn 2, like Bone Shards, discard Imp, cast Imp, destroy your Delver or something. So that's pretty reasonable. So this is a nice discard outlet. Plus, this is also, I think, potentially reasonable for like some type of mono black reanimator deck, because mono black didn't have really any good discard outlets. Yeah, they had Putrid Imp, but that's not great. And I think this is actually better than that, just because you get to like discard Crusher, which you want to discard, and then destroy target creature. So Bone Shard's pretty cool with the discard, and then you can also use it in some hybrid, like maybe you have some madness, maybe you have some like random fodder to sacrifice. So watch out for Bone Shards. This is an honorable mention. This card's sweet. Bottle Gnomes, 4 mana 3/3 trample. When it dies, gain life equal to its power. Just not playable. I don't think that card's good at all. Break Ties. This card's interesting. It's kind of like Return to Nature. 3 mana instant, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or exile a card from a graveyard. You get that choice, and then reinforce for 1. I don't think this card is that great. Yes, you can just, reinforce it for 1, discard it, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, so you have even more modality, but then 3 mana rather than 2 for Return to Nature. Not great, and I think there's better, artifact enchantment hate in white than this, but it's nice to have. Maybe you want the exile card from a graveyard, and if your deck can utilize the reinforce, sure, but I don't really expect this to see too much play. Breathless Knight, this card's interesting. 1 black, 1 white, 1/2/2 flying lifelink. When this or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature entered from a graveyard or you cast it from a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Breathless Knight. So this could see some play in some type of like, not a really exhume, but kind of like unearth type deck because it's really good with unearth. So if you unearth this, it entered from the graveyard. Now you have a 3/3 flying lifelink. That's not bad. And then if you have anything else entering from the graveyard, then this continues to grow. That being said, on its face, 3 mana 2/2 flying lifelink, not gonna quite cut it, but that's still reasonable. I don't think it's gonna quite cut it right now, but just kind of something cool that you could do as like a tier 3 type of archetype. Okay, this card is kind of cool too. 3 mana 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. That's something. And I'll get into why. And then whenever you sacrifice a token, it gains flying till end of turn. But what this can do, which is interesting, is if you have like cost reducers that say like blue spells you play cost 1 less to play, if you have 2 of those out, then you're playing this for 1 mana, and then it's creating a treasure. So there's certain things you can do, like where if you're like bouncing this and it costs 1 mana, and then every time it enters the battlefield, you're getting a treasure, you sacrifice that treasure, and then you're playing this again. There's just interesting things you can do. That being said, I don't think you're going to quite want to go down that route, but still, 3 mana 3/1, and it gives you a treasure. Like, don't scoff at getting a treasure. Look at Prismari Command seeing so much play in Modern. People didn't realize how good making a treasure was. Like, on turn 3, making a treasure, untap, turn 4, land, 5 mana is pretty solid. And this is still a 3/1. That being said, I don't think it's quite good enough. But yeah, think about that. 3 mana 3/1 treasure, and then next turn 5 mana, sack the treasure, use all your mana. This gains flying, so you gained a mana on the next turn, and you attacked for 3 in the air, and then you're probably gonna have more treasures or stuff like that. Whenever you sacrifice a token, gains flying, so you can continue to give this flying with more treasures. Plus, just kind of cool art, cool card, but not quite there. This card, Cabal Initiate, 2 mana 2/1, discard a card, it gains lifelink till end of turn, but Threshold, it gets +1/+2, so it turns into a 3/3. I just don't think that's quite good enough. Yes, it is a discard outlet that's probably better than Putrid Imp, but it also costs 2 mana. I just don't think this is going to get there. Just not quite good enough. Captured by Legox. This is 3 mana enchantment aura. It's basically a pacifism, and then when it enters the battlefield, support 2, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So this is actually interesting, because like in some type of like heroic deck, you can like pacifism their guy and make 2 of your creatures bigger. That being said, I'm not sure it's quite good enough, but it could see some play. Who knows? Maybe even in something like Boggles, it could see play, but I don't really think so. I don't think it's quite there. But it's a cool card, and I'm sure a lot of people like the art and the flavor. Chatterstorm, #1 card. This card is definitely an honorable mention. Chrome Courier, 3 mana, 1 white, 1 blue. 3 mana total. Flying 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. If you put an artifact card into your hand this way, you gain 3 life. So it's essentially some type of like Seagate Oracle type thing. 3 mana 1/1 flying. You look at the top 2, you get one of them. You reveal it and you get one of them. You reveal both. Okay, so you do have to reveal. That makes it worse than Seagate. But if your deck is all artifacts, so like if you want to play this in some type of affinity deck, that's pretty reasonable. 3 mana 1/1 flying. Draw the best card out of the top 2, and most of the time gain 3 life. That's not bad. 3 mana 1/1 flying. Look at 2, take 1, gain 3. And then if you like do stuff like flicker this or like ephemerate this, you can just keep drawing cards and gaining life. So that's kind of cool. It definitely does something. The 1/1 body is so, but gaining life, drawing cards, flickering that's something. I think it's a little overcosted for the affinity builds right now, but it is pretty cool. Crack open, just not quite there, I don't think. It is cool because you can create a treasure, fix your mana, ramp you again, but just there's better things. Like there's 1 mana naturalize effects, so I don't really like Crack Open. Deepwood Denizen. This card was kind of interesting, but not good enough. 3 mana, 3/2 vigilance, 6 mana tap, draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each +1/+1 counter on creatures you control. So you need to have a +1/+1 counter theme, and you need a lot of counters on your creatures. And then if you have a lot of counters, are you really going to sit there 1 mana tap draw? Probably not. So not quite good enough. but it is a 3-mana 3/2 elf that draws cards. All right, Tihada's Ploy, 3-mana instant. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. You gain life equal to the number of cards you've discarded this turn. That's interesting, especially again for some. I just kind of like these reanimator type decks, even though they're not that good right now. But maybe we'll get some more big creatures in Pauper later, or some more like hard to kill stuff, or some more good ETB value big stuff that we can make a better reanimator deck with. But Tihada's Ploy. So draw 2, then discard, and then you gain life equal to the number of cards you've discarded. So that's generally going to be gain 1, but this also has jumpstart. So you can cast this card from your graveyard by discarding another card. Then it's going to be discard 1, draw 2, discard 1, and then gain 2, and then you exile this card. So that's a lot of looting potential. And if you have some type of thing, maybe let's say Discerning Taste, and you can put it into your graveyard without having to cast the first half, and then you get the free jumpstart half, that's reasonable. Plus gaining a little life is decent. Still think it's not quite there on rate, but just something to keep in mind. And speaking of Discerning Taste, I actually like this card, specifically in a mono black reanimator shell, because it's 1 black, 2 colorless, 3-mana total, sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You gain life equal to the greatest power among creature cards put into your graveyard this way. So you get to go like turn 1 Dark Ritual Discerning Taste. Sounds weird, but it's actually good. And then reveal 4. If you hit a crusher in the top 4, you get to gain 8 and put that crusher into your graveyard and take the best out of the other 3. And then if you have some more big stuff, it's reasonable, just like, 3 mana, look at the top 4, put a good card into your hand, gain 5 life, which is nothing to scoff at. The gain 5 or gain 8 is reasonable. If you're ever able to hit Crusher, this card becomes pretty insane, and you can build your deck to just like gain a bunch of life on like hitting Gurmag Anglers or stuff too. So I like Discerning Taste. It is clunky at 3 mana, but being black, it's kind of like a pieces of the puzzle in a way, because you get 1 card, you get value by gaining life, and you're dumping stuff into the yard. So kind of like a black pieces of the puzzle, kind of for Reanimator, but I'll probably brew with this at some point for sure. It seems fun. Disciple of the Sun, 5 mana, 3/3 lifelink. Not great. When it enters the battlefield, return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand, not battlefield. Not quite going to cut it. There's just better effects that do this. Dray Keeper. Is that how you say it? Dray or Dry? I think it's Dray. 5 mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens, and then for 4 mana total, squirrels you control get +1/+0 and gain menace until end of turn. I thought this card seemed okay. I don't think it's gonna quite get there, but you get this army in a can type of thing, which is kind of unique for Pauper. It's overcosted, but then if you get to untap with the keeper, you get to just activate it, and then all of a sudden you're swinging for 6 and a lot of menace. And if you can make more squirrels, this actually gets pretty good, but I don't really expect this to do anything. Yes, you can flicker it and make more squirrels, but there's, better stuff to flicker anyway. Dust Shell Crawler, 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So you can make a 2 mana 1/4. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. So there's stuff you could do like infect and stuff like that, but cute little beetle on the lantern here. Not quite going to get there. Sorry, beetle. Echoing Return. This card could do stuff. Return target creature and all cards with the same name from your graveyard to your hand. Just not quite there. It's hard to get a bunch of things in the yard with the same name. So yeah, people are going to try to like do some rat stuff or whatever's legal, but no, not quite going to Echoing Return. Ethereum Center. This is definitely an honorable mention, and this is one I missed. If I were to do my initial set review, I wasn't really thinking about this card, but people have been playing it and reporting good results. So 1 blue, 2 colorless, artifact creature, human wizard. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. And I don't know if I said it's a 2/1. So this is pretty cool, because the new affinity decks, if you just play 4 Frogmite, 4 Mirror Enforcer, 4 Sojourners Companion, the new Mirror Enforcer, you just can like do lines like turn 3, play Spinner, and then play Frogmite, get a 1/1 flying, play another Frogmite, and then play like 2 Mirror Enforcers. So you just can play this card and immediately get like 3 or 4 Thopters on a good draw. And that's hard to deal with. That's obviously best case scenario, but I've seen people even trying to play this card out of the sideboard of like blue black and stuff like that, where you can activate it with Gurmag Angler or Snuff Out, and just anything that's creating 1/1 flyings for free is pretty good, especially when you go play this, snuff out your thing, snuff out another thing. Then it's like, wow, I just killed two other things, played a 2/1, got two 1/1 flyings, and I'm still sitting here with Spinner. Maybe next turn untap Angler, get another flyer. That does a lot. Like a lot of decks are going to have trouble with like three free 1/1 flyings, but this itself has one toughness, and I don't know. I'm probably going to try a affinity build without this to start, and then maybe I'll try it later when I have time. But yeah, watch out for this card. Definitely honorable mention. Could have been number 5 on the list. Fairgrounds Patrol, not going to cut it, not even going to read it, not good. Faithless Salvaging. This card is cool. One red, one colorless. This is obviously an homage or whatever, a throwback, a call to Faithless Looting, Faithless Salvaging. One red, one colorless, instant. Discard a card, then draw a card, and rebound. So I like this card for a couple reasons. There's some cool things you can do with it. One being an instant, you can leave up counter magic and stuff like that. But getting to discard a card and then draw a card, this doesn't say discard a card if you do draw a card. It just says discard then draw. So if this is the last card you play, you have no cards in hand, you just get to draw a card. And you can also do that even with the rebound. So in decks with a lot of cheap spells, imagine like Faithless Salvaging the last card, or you top deck it, you have no other cards in hand. You play Salvaging, you just get a free draw, then you play that card, and then on your upkeep, you rebound Salvaging, you just get to draw another card. And you can just do cool stuff like with Storm, you play Faithless Salvaging end of their turn. On your upkeep, you get to salvage, and then you already have Storm 1. So rebound can be pretty good with Storm as well. So just watch out for this card. Decent discard outlet, and I like that it's an instant. And again, like I just mentioned, two cool things you can do. Floodhound, this is a good boy right here. Elemental Dog, 1 mana, 1/2, 3 tap, investigate. That's just so slow. So freaking slow. It just seems so much worse than Thraben Inspector to me. But I mean, this looks like a elemental Basset Hound, so gotta love it. For Flourishing Strike, not quite good enough. I don't like it. Fodder Tosser, this card is cool. 3 mana artifact, tap, discard a card. It deals 2 damage to target player or planeswalker. But this card reminds me of what's that card name? I can't believe I'm forgetting it. It's the 1 mana artifact, and then you tap it, reveal a card at random from your hand, or name a card, reveal a card at random from your hand. If you reveal the named card, okay, let me start over. 1 mana artifact, tap, name a card, or 2 mana tap, name a card, and then reveal a card at random from your hand. If you reveal the chosen card, you get to deal 2 damage to any target. And this is kind of similar for Pauper, because you get to go 3 mana, and then you just have this thing sitting here like in a burn deck, where it's like, any card I draw, I can discard to deal 2 to them. So it's like, no matter what, if you have counterspells or you have anything, I'm gonna deal 2 a turn, worst case scenario. So it's like, draw a mountain, deal you 2. Okay, draw a lightning bolt. Oh, that you have 4 mana untapped and 6 cards in hand, deal you 2. And then it's like, if you can't remove this, it's gonna kill you. So fodder toss are kind of interesting. Plus, being a discard outlet can be a benefit to you. So could do something, especially out of the sideboard, a burn or something. I like it. It seems kind of cool. Foul Watcher, kind of cool art. All these eyes over the Raven. 2 mana, 1/2 flying. When enters the battlefield, surveil 1. So. And then Delirium gets +1/+0 as long as there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. So best case scenario, 2 mana, 2/2 flying, surveil 1. That's reasonable, but if you're not able to turn on surveil, 2 mana, 1/2 flying, surveil 1, just not going to cut it. Just not quite there on power level. Oh, Foundry Helix. This is one I missed only because when I was looking at like the set reviews, it wasn't spoiled till later, I believe, so I just didn't see it. So when I was like thinking about like what's my top 5, what are my honorable mentions, this wasn't there, but this is definitely an honorable mention. 3 mana, 1 red, 1 colorless, instant. As an additional cost, sack a permanent. It deals 4 damage to any target. If the sacrificed permanent was an artifact, gain 4 life. That's pretty cool. So it's like a big lightning helix where you have to sacrifice a permanent. But there's some cool things you can do with this where you like sacrifice an Ichor Wellspring to get value, so you're gaining card advantage by sacrificing a permanent, or even sacrifice like a Chromatic Star and stuff. And then getting a big lightning helix at instant speed is good. Plus, they just go like Doomblade your Mirror Enforcer or your Sojourner's Companion now. You go Foundry Helix, sack it, deal 4, gain 4. That being said, 3 mana, a little clunky for that type of effect. I think some people were super high on this, and I was like, whoa, slow down. Still 3 mana, sack a permanent. That's an expensive cost, but deal 4, gain 4 is really strong. You're gonna want to sack an artifact because the gain 4 is really relevant. But yeah, cool card. Definitely an honorable mention here. This card's interesting, not good enough though. 5 mana, 3/5, and if you morbid, you investigate. Just too slow, just not quite there. Galvanic Relay, watch out. Another storm card. 3 mana sorcery, exile the top card of your library. During your next turn, you may play that card. So basically, what this does, it's like you can storm off and then play a Galvanic Relay, and maybe then still try to like Chatterstorm, and they're like, okay, stop you, like cannonade, and then you're like, okay, sure, I already Galvanic Relayed, so untap, upkeep, and then like you have like 6 or 7 cards to play that turn. So this is a good way to like storm off or storm off a little bit and then relay, and then you can always like go off crazy next turn. So I like this card, but it's not seeing that much play right now just because I don't think you need it, because you usually just win with Chatterstorm. So all right, Gargadon. This is a throwback to Greater Gargadon, which does something similar, but this is like a smaller version. That's why it's not greater. So 7 mana, 7/5 trample, but it has suspend 4 for 2. And this card's cool. So basically, you pay 2 mana, you suspend it. You can't counter the suspend or anything. And then each upkeep, you remove a counter. And when you remove the last one, you cast this for free. And this is actually kind of cool because look at like Errant Ephemeron. It was dominant back in the day. And when you cast something off suspend, for some reason it gains haste. I don't know why they did that. I wish they didn't, but that's the way it is. So then when this comes off suspend, it's a 7/5 trample haste. And you only paid 2 mana. Yeah, you had to wait 4 turns, but that's something. And I I don't really want to give away this idea for a brew, but it's okay. Maybe somebody else can break it. You can use cards like this and Errant Ephemeron and then use a bunch of Cascade cards, and then you can have some type of combo in your deck. I haven't figured it out yet, where you'll always be able to Cascade into that combo because you're going to have uh, only expensive cards in your deck, even though you can suspend them early. So early you're going to be suspending stuff, doing some weird stuff like that, and then you're always cascading down into a certain set of cards to allow you to combo, which is interesting, but I haven't found out how to make it work yet. Or you just always cascade down into like a big value 3-drop or something. I mean, then you just use these suspend cards to like, get value. So this could do something, but that's going pretty deep, I know. Um, Gilt Blade Prowler, not going to cut it. 3 mana, 2/3, not enough. Glimmer Baron, is it? This card is cool. 1 mana, 1/2, and you sack a token, it gets +2/+2. And this is an oof. This is cool. This is like almost like a mini Atog. If you have something like where you're creating a bunch of food tokens, this just like becomes a Tog. And there's other ways to get like treasures and make a bunch of treasures and stuff like that. So Glimmer Baron, watch out. This could do something. I want being 1 mana and then having like basically a Tog text. That's cool. I don't know if you can break this yet, but it's interesting. Goblin Arachnomancer, is it? Or Anarch Anarchomancer? Okay, whatever. It's basically a Goblin Electromancer, but it's green-red. Each spell that's green or red costs 1 less to cast. And some people play this. I've seen people brewing with this in like Chatterstorm builds, but I think ultimately it's not going to do that much. You could just play it as a 2 mana 2/2 and then you ramp for your other green and red spells, so that's kind of cool. And there could be combos that come up with this later by whenever you have cost reducers, watch out, they can break stuff. So watch out for Anarchomancer or whatever you want, whatever it's called. Okay, man, let's keep getting through this. Um, Gouged Zella, 4 mana, 4/3 reach. When it attacks, if there are 4 or more card types in your graveyard, it deals 1 damage to each creature defending player controls. Just 4 mana, gets bolted. Not gonna play it. Not down. This also is 4 mana, gets bolted, but 4 mana, 2/3 flying. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this. I mean, that's like another good like big payoff for like sacrificing your own creatures, because you can play this, and then if you have something like a like just any sack outlet, it's like scary. They're like, I can't bolt this now because they can just sack a creature and make this bigger, and then it continues to grow, but still I'm not going to get there. All right. This was actually one of my honorable mentions, and I like it a lot. Hasn't seen play yet, but Hard Evidence, 1 mana sorcery, create a 0/3 blue crab and investigate. So it's basically like a blue Thraben Inspector, and I know it's not because one of the best parts about Thraben is balancing it with Core Skyfisher and stuff like that. But there's other things that Hard Evidence does that Thraben Inspector does not do. And for things like this could see play in something like Serpentine Curve decks because it's a sorcery. So you're upping your sorcery count and you're getting a blocker and you're getting a clue, which sometimes the clue is nice because instead of having to discard, you can just play like copies of hard Evidence, make blockers, and then draw cards later. So you don't have to discard a hand size. And being a sorcerer again can do stuff. You can maybe cast it from the graveyard, you can return it to your hand, cast it again, and just keep investigating. So I like Hard Evidence. Again, kind of like a blue Thraben Inspector. Hellmongrel, yes, it could do something. Kind of just going to skip over it. 4 mana, 4/3, discard a card, gets +1/+1. It has madness, but not quite there. Kind of sick art actually though. Cool art on the island. Jade Avenger. I've seen people mention this card. Kind of cute art, but yeah, not going to cut it. Just not good enough. Jewel-Eyed Cobra, not good enough. And here's the Kitchen Imp I was talking about. 4 mana, 2/2 flying haste. Madness 1. So with things like Bone Shards, the card I was talking about earlier, where is it? It's right here. You can just discard your Kitchen Imp and then cast it because it has madness. And then 2/2 flying haste, that's sweet. So in a deck like, like if you're like Black Red Madness or something, you definitely want your Kitchen Imps. Trades with Delver, just races. 2/2 flying haste, that's sweet. Casting it for 4 mana is not bad. Everyone's going to mention Tortured Existence. Everyone wants me to play with Tortured Existence. I'll get around to it at some point. I have too much stuff to test though, so it'll be a little while on the Tordex. But yeah, this is a sweet one. This is an honorable mention as well. Really strong. Knighted Mirror, not going to read it. I don't like these basic land cycling cards for the most part. Skip over it. This is already running kind of long here. We're already at 47 minutes. Late to Dinner. 4 mana sorcery, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. There is other white cards that return creatures from the graveyard to the battlefield, and this also creates a food token. I like Late to Dinner actually. I would like to get a couple more big creatures to make Reanimator a better archetype, but just having Crusher and now having Cast Down in the format, Reanimator is just not quite there. But yeah, Late to Dinner is the best 4 mana reanimation spell we have right now. It's just reanimate plus get a food token, which is solid. Lens Flare, I don't think this card is good. Just doesn't quite do it. Even for 1 mana, killing something, you can just Galvanic Blast. Why do you need this? Lightning Spear. This card's cool. It's like, if there's any way to like search for equipment or something, this is kind of interesting just because you give something +1/+1 trample and then later you can just bolt something for 3 mana. So it's just good utility. I like it. I don't think it's going to see play right now, but just watch out because any way to like tutor equipment and put it into play, having a lightning spear available is kind of cool. It's interesting. This is Loathsome Curator, 5 mana 5/4, exploit menace. So it's a 5 mana 5/4 menace, and then if it exploits a creature, destroy target creature you don't control with convert a mana cost 3 or less, mana value. Just don't think this is quite enough. Exploiting a creature is a pretty big cost. Yeah, you don't have to exploit, but 5 mana 5/4 mana is not going to cut it. Lose Focus, number 5 on the list. Marble Gargoyle, not going to cut it, just not good. Let's move on to the last 40 cards or so here. Mental Journey, I don't really like these basic land cyclers. This one is kind of interesting compared to the others, just being card advantage later, but again, 2 mana to basic land cycle, not going to cut it anymore in Pauper. Mind Collapse, I actually like these a lot. 4 mana sorcery, or 4 mana instant. If it's your turn, you may sacrifice a mountain rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Watch out, any spell that you can play for 0 mana can do some pretty good stuff. This deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker, but I mean, I like this card. Again, a while back, I went on and just did like a bunch of searches. Any cards that were commons that I could get my hands on that I could cast without paying mana cost, I just bought all of them. I was like, I'm gonna need all these, and who knows when people break cards that cost 0 mana. And this is one of those, and it's a card that costs 0 mana that can kill a creature. Yes, you kind of have to 2-for-1 yourself by sacking a mountain, but I see this as potential to see some play, especially in a deck like Burn. Like if there's like big creatures, like a lot of like mirror forces and stuff that you have to kill, you could always have a couple copies of this in the sideboard. This can just deal with stuff like, I don't know about a Tog, they can still just sack 2 artifacts, but at the same time, like Mind Collapse, 0 mana, deal 5 to a creature, reasonable. And who knows when they're going to print common planeswalkers. So just pick up your copies of Mind Collapse while they're, essentially 0. Okay, we're getting there. We have a Manticore here, 4 mana, 3/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard a card. Okay, so you play this, then combat, discard something. If you do, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of card types the discarded card has. So this card is an enchantment creature. It has 2 card types. This is an artifact creature, 2 card types, artifact and creature. So it's not that hard to deal 2 damage with this. Often you're going to be dealing 1 damage. You can discard an artifact land as well. But overall, it's just hard to continually get value. Like you play it, yes, you can ping something for 2, but then you've already discarded a card. So then if they just kill this, it's like not that great. And I don't think this card is really going to do anything. Mere Scrappling. This also is likely not going to do anything, but 1 mana colorless artifact that can sacrifice itself for a little value. Maybe, but not right now. But I actually do like the art. The art is actually pretty sick on that. Nested Shambler. 1 mana, 1/1. When it dies, create X tapped 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens, where X is Nested Shambler's power. And somebody pointed out the flavor on this is pretty sick. The squirrels are literally controlling the dead person, the zombie. And then when it dies, all the squirrels come out. That's really sick flavor. And this card could do something, if you have a way to pump its power and a way to utilize squirrels specifically, maybe, but that's a lot of hoops to jump through. More just a 1 mana 1/1 that dies into a 1/1 green squirrel. This one is actually interesting as far as the basic land cyclers because it's a creature. So you can basic land cycle it and then reanimate it or something and then get 2 foods. Still, I don't think that's quite enough. But ETB, get 2 foods. Maybe there's a food deck in the future that wants this. You're not really going to want to cast a craw worm, but still something to look at. Kind of cool. I like the card. Ornithopter of Paradise. This is obviously a mashup of Ornithopter and Birds of Paradise. 2 mana, 0/2 flying, tap, add 1 mana any color. Not quite good enough. Affinity doesn't need this. Just 2 mana for your mana dork is not where you want to be, but it's a colorless fixture that adds mana of any color. Always like to see more of that in Pauper, and it being an 0/2 flying does something, so I like it, but not quite going to cut it. Parsimon Mirror, not going to cut it either. Phantasmal Dreadmaw, though, this card could do something, especially as a sideboard card if they can't really target your stuff in like a mono blue deck. Imagine you like just know your opponent can't target your creatures, you side this in, or even just play it in the main, just go all out. 4 mana, 6/6 trample. If opponent's decks cannot target your stuff, then this card is very good. It just straight up is very good. It has the classic Phantasmal text, and it's bigger than most of the other Phantasmals that have been printed. I don't, love it because any removal spell, like a Lava Dart or anything, kills this, but yeah, pretty cool. Piercing Rays. This card's just kind of cool design, although I don't think it's that good. 2 mana sorcery, exile target tapped creature, so you have to like let a creature attack you and then do it. But of course, you could forecast it, tap their creature, activate this ability only during your upkeep and only once each turn. So on your upkeep, you have to forecast and then you exile. But yeah, that's expensive. I just don't like it. Recalibrate. This card's interesting. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If you discarded a card this turn, draw a card. And that's just like a pretty reasonable bounce spell where you can get value out of it if you have a lot of discard outlets. That being said, compare this to Snap. It's just so much worse. Snap being essentially free just makes it like way, way better than Recalibrate. So not going to get there, but cool. Revolutionist. I like this. 6 mana, 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, return her instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. It's a little bit behind rate, but it's a 3/3, and having Madness seems pretty cool. Like you go like Faithless Looting and then cast this for 4 and then get back like the looting or something else. That's decent value. and you can always, madness it, flicker it, and then keep flickering it, and then keep returning stuff. So it's actually cheap when you madness it. So revolutionist, maybe you could do something. I like it. Rift Sower, I saw some people high on this, but I just don't like it. 1 mana suspend 2, that's kind of cool. Then it comes down with haste, and then maybe you storm off or something. 3 mana 1/3 tap, add 1 mana any color. The reason I don't like this is if you don't have it in your opening hand, 3 mana 1/3 tap, add 1 mana any color, not good. Just so expensive for a mana ramp card. But the suspend 2 is nice. It's just so much worse than like what's the card that gets a land, 1 mana suspend 2, and then search your library for a basic land. That's so much better than Rift Sower. Sorry. Shattered Ego, just not good. Sinister Starfish. There's a starfish. It's 1 blue, 1 colorless, 0/3, tap, scry 1. So this is like, the dead version of it. Kind of cool, but not good. This card is interesting. 3 mana, 2/3. As long as it's your turn, it gets +2/+0. So on your turn, it's a 4/3, but it has madness too. So turn 1, I don't know, you play like something like a free discard outlet, like a putrid. Turn 2, you play a 4/3. That's cool, but I just don't think even a 2 mana 4/3 that you have to jump through hoops for is worth it. Smell Fear. I actually thought this card was cool. It's just 2 mana fight, but proliferate. So if you can use this in infect, you can proliferate their infect counters that are on them, and if you can put +1/+1 counters on your creature, then you can proliferate those as well. So yeah, Smell Fear could see play in infect. It's cool. I hate this art actually though. Terrible. Sorry. Can't really see the artist, but sorry, I don't like these cat claws coming down. That's whack. gotta call them out. Sojourners Companion on the top 5 list. So shiny, 3 mana. This is like the next Fall from Favor, right? No, this is just not good. Soul of Migration. This was actually not on my honorable mentions, but it could have been. 7 mana, 2/4 flying. But when it ETBs, create 2 1/1 white bird creature tokens with flying. So 7 mana, 2/4 flying that you get 2 1/1 flyings, but then evoke for 4. That's evoking for 4 is not that expensive. So 4 mana to get 2 1/1 flyings. That's not that great. It's obviously worse than Battle Screech on that rate, but Ephemerate is legal in Pauper. So you get up to 5 mana, you evoke this, trigger on the stack, you Ephemerate it. Now you have a 2/4 flying, 4 1/1 flyings, and you can also just like upkeep, Ephemerate this again. So this plus Ephemerate or Ghostly Flicker seems pretty sweet, and Tron could always just cast this. Plus you can always just evoke it and then reanimate it. So I kind of like Soul Migration. I think this is a card like nobody's really talking about, but it seems pretty sweet to me for those reasons. All right, let's just move on. We're almost done here. About an hour in. Steelfin Whale. 6 mana, 3/4, but affinity for artifacts. Whenever an artifact ETBs under your control, untap it. So watch out. I don't think there's any combos I know of with Whale right now, but being a potential like 1 mana 3/4 that could have some combo potentials, like you tap it, you give this some ability where it can like bounce an artifact, and then you replay an ornithopter, untap it, then you can just keep doing that infinite. A 1 mana 3/4 that has like an untap ability where it potential for combo later. Just pick up your Steelfin Whales at like 0.1 tickets or 0.01 tickets or whatever. Just get it. I mean, it doesn't do anything now, but 1 mana 3/4, it's kind of cool. Just get them. Maybe you combo later. It's fun. Step through. This is interesting. I did do a wizard search, and there is some playable ones. I kind of forgot which ones I wanted to get, but 5 mana sorcery, return 2 target creatures. So it has that mode, but then if there's any type of wizard combo, this has wizard cycling too. So you discard it and then search for a wizard, put it into your hand. So I don't think this does anything right now, but again, you could build some jank wizard combo deck. Let me know if you know of any wizard combos, but yeah, jank right now, but kind of cool. I like the design of it. Pretty sweet. Storm God's Oracle. 3 mana, 1 blue, 1 red, 1/3, and it can get +1/-1. And when it dies, it deals 3 damage to any target. I just don't think this is quite good enough, but at the same time, it is an enchantment, which could do something. And 3 mana, 1/3, that when it dies, it bolts anything. Like a lot of decks that can't exile something, like, oh man, it's gonna be annoying. Like you just play this, they're like, well, I don't want to attack and like just get bolted or get my good thing killed. Like they're going to have like a 3/3 or a 4/4, and they're going to be like, I don't really want to attack and have them like deal 1 to my 4/4 and then bolt my 4/4 and trade. And this can always kill it, like attack +2 +2 -2, hit for 3, and then activate one more time, bolt them. So this is cool, but again, not quite good enough. Tavern Scoundrel. 2 mana, 1/3. If you win a coin flip, create 2 treasures. I don't even know what coin flip cards are legal, but yeah, sweet. Not good, but sweet. Terminal Agony. This is like kind of like Terminate, but like a Madness enabler. So 4 mana, destroy target creature, sorcery, and then Madness for 1 black, 1 red. So even in the Madness deck, I was thinking this probably isn't quite good enough because you're never going to want to play it for 4, and setting it up, you could just play Terminate. So yeah, if you're getting value out of like Faithless Looting into Terminal Agony, you get value, but there's other ways to get value. I don't think you need this, but it is cool to have. I like the design of it. Charger, I don't think this card is good, but anything with escape, watch out, you can get value, so it could be decent. Tormod's Crypt Keeper, this is like a Tormod's Crypt on a body, but I don't think that's where you want. If you want to stop the graveyard, you don't want it on a relatively weak body. This is like a really expensive like Hymn to Turok / Duress. 4 mana sorcery, they reveal their hand, you choose a card, they discard it, and then they discard a card at random. But 4 mana for that is just so much. Maybe some sideboard and some type of meta, but I don't think so. All right, Tragic Fall. This is a Tragic Slip variant. 1 black, 1 colorless, instant. Target creature gets -3/-3 till end of turn, and then Hellbent gets -13/13. So this has to be the last card you play to be Hellbent. But 2 mana instant, target creature gets -3/3 is okay. I still don't think it's quite good enough, but I love Tragic Slip. I love the flavor, and I love the flavor on this one too. Tragic Slip's like a guy's getting like pushed into a grave. Love that. And this is like a Tragic Fall, just falling off a building. Pretty sick. Love the black flavor. I wish they went a little more morbid like they used to, because I like the black flavor. Pretty sweet. Unbound Potential. I don't really like this card. It can do something, but whatever. Let's move on. Unholy Heat. This card is making some waves in Modern. It's easier to Delirium in Modern, and we have good options in Pauper as red burn spells. This cannot go face, but in some type of Delirium deck, this could see some play because it's an instant and it deals 2, so it shocks any creature, and then it can deal 6 damage to creatures if you have Delirium. So I like Unholy Heat. Watch out for this card. Always just remember that it exists. It like allows your red decks maybe that don't want to be spread red to have like a red spell that's cheap that just deals a bunch of damage to creatures. So yeah, sweet card. Urban Daggertooth. I don't really like this card. It's hard to enrage it. 4 mana, 4/3 vigilance, and if you do enrage it, it proliferates. So yes, you could infect, but then you're playing a non-infect creature. It just doesn't. I don't know. Not good. Not good. Vermin Gorger, 2 mana, 2/2, sack another creature. Each opponent you drain for 2. Just not good. Also, Lash Claw. I think it's not good, but watch out because it is the discard outlet. But I just don't think it's a good one because you have to play this then untap with it. So I don't like it. Wave Sifter. This is actually an honorable mention, even though it's not seeing any play right now. 5 mana, 3/2, flying. When it enters the battlefield, investigate twice, but then it has evoke for 1 green, 1 blue. So the reason I do like this card is because it's kind of like a Mold Drifter, but 3 power is a lot more than 2. So just watch out because evoke for only 2 mana, even if it's kind of restrictive and being 2 different colors, is so cheap. So again, this card plus Ephemerate, you evoke this Ephemerate, and now you have a 3/2 flying and 4 clues. Yeah, it's slow, but maybe use the clues to do something else. Also, just casting it, 5 mana, 3/2 flying, get 2 clues is reasonable. Just so much worse than Mold Drifter, but I like it. Yeah, if you can utilize the clues in any other way, it's pretty sweet. And World Weary, I just don't like it all, so let's skip it. And that is the complete Modern Horizons 2 set review for Pauper. I actually love doing these. I didn't realize like that I would like enjoy doing these, but spending an hour talking about pretty much every single common from the set, going over what I think are the top 5, it's a lot of fun, and I hope you had a good time. Again, my name is Max. My channel is youtube.com/natbolt. If you liked this set review, please just comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the top 5. If you thought my top 5 was trash or if it was decent, let me know. Commenting helps me out too. So subscribe to my channel, comment down below. I really appreciate any support in that way. And thank you so much for watching. Till next time. Peace.